It is the Anfield Wrap. It's Neil Atkinson with Josh Williams, Mo Stewart and John Gibbons to work through what was Leicester City 0, Liverpool Football Club 1. One massive step forward towards the league title. But this season, the official fitness digital partner of Liverpool FC is Peloton. And they're also the partner of the Anfield Wrap on a Monday, John. And you are up to all sorts. You've got your group in place. You're trying to do your Fridays. You're battling with AFQ. But you're having a good time with it.
Yeah, I got on 3 times last week. I'm pleased with that. Yeah, I did the 3.
I got on none, so I feel mortified now by this turn of events.
No, did 3 last week. I got a PB for 20 minutes and a PB for 30. I noticed a few...
When you say PB, the PB in terms of the score?
Yeah, in terms of
I'll
the
just
score.
game the score then, John. What are you doing that's getting you a PB? Because I keep struggling with the score.
Well, it's a combination of your speed and your resistance, basically. So that's how it sort of goes up. And so you.
But are you meant to go higher than it tells you, or have you got to stay in the realm of what Leanne's recommending?
No, it's. No, the higher you go, the more score you get.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was like you had to stay in the rules. Okay, well, now I'll cut loose now.
No. So, I mean, so Leanne obviously would never sit you wrong in anything.
No, not in any walk of life.
Musical direction and sort of fitness. And so Leanne's telling you where it should be, but if you want to... I'm trying to sort of push it to the higher end, but if you want to sort of go off the scale, sort of feel free. But she's trying to look after you, so I would sort of listen to her. And I wouldn't obsess if he scores, as a man who's just said he got 2 PBs last week for 20 and 30 minutes.
You wouldn't obsess over your scores?
No, I wouldn't. It's just it's just getting on it. It's just getting on it.
Yeah, you wouldn't say it on a podcast in front of millions and millions of people worldwide.
Yeah, no, you just get on it. Just enjoy it. It was good. It was good to do because I've been a bit rubbish since I got back from Australia. So it was good to sort of get back in the groove last week, and enjoyed it. Excellent. Very much.
Excellent. So yes, jump on Peloton if you get the opportunity to do so. Join John's Telegram group if you have the opportunity to do that. Reach out to him, and he'll sort that out as well.
And then we've got a group on the Peloton app as well. So just message me if you want to sort of get stuck into any of those. And the hashtag on Peloton is Tour Peloton Club.
There we are. Excellent stuff. Let's move on. Leicester City 0, Liverpool 1. I sent you all the race chart from StatsBomb. 3.3 expected goals for the Reds over the course of the game. 0.3 for Leicester. Josh Williams, it was a hammering. I actually thought we were genuinely very good first half. I was... not too dissimilar to West Ham, where Liverpool go in, I think, against West Ham at home 1-0 at half-time. I think they deserved 2. Against Leicester, 0-0 at half-time. Again, I sort of just thought they deserved 2. They were good first halves back-to-back, and I just think that they play well. I understand why people's chimps end up coming out a little bit second 45 in a couple of different ways because you're so desperate to see them win the game, but... I genuinely just sort of think they play well. I wish I had something more sort of insightful and or damning and or positive to say.
I thought it was a bit weird though to watch personally. It is just Leicester, I think, for me. I've said on multiple podcasts this season, every time I watch Leicester, something dies inside me, like a puppy dies somewhere, I think, because it's miserable. It's a miserable watching. It feels like Liverpool, my own team, we're playing well, but even despite that, I was a bit like, it's a bit flat, isn't it? But despite that, you look at the numbers, you look at the race chart and that. Liverpool do more than enough to win the game. What was it, 28 shots in the end, was it?
Yeah.
That's a lot. I think we faced 0 on target from a Leicester side. Obviously, indeed, he hits the post at one point. But it was one of them games that you just absolutely take care of. It could have been 3 on a different day, could have been 4. We ended up winning at 1-0, but we were never going to concede, really, and never really looked particularly phased, and you just get out there with 3 points and just a job done.
For me, the turning point of the match, and it's a mad thing to say, Mo, is Salah, 2 minutes. And then if it goes in, that ends up being a 3, a 4, a 5, and it does hit both posts. It trickles along the line. It was like, what happened next? It was all the things that you. But genuinely, I think that is the turning point of the match, and that it is a game Liverpool are always going to win.
Yeah.
So the key turning point factor is what stops it from being a different scoreline.
So when you say it's a game Liverpool are always going to win, that's something that you can say looking at the stats and feeling in hindsight having watched the game. But when I was in it, there was definitely periods where I was just like, oh, not this again. Not a game where we deserve to win and something goes wrong and we get hard lines. But you're right to say that moment, the Salah moment, is very pivotal because Leicester have conceded inside the first 3 minutes 3 times in the last few games. They did it against Newcastle. They did it against Man City. Everton scored within 10 seconds against them. And from that point on, Leicester caved. and the game was very easy for those three teams. They just cruised through. So if we'd have done the same, the exact same would have happened, particularly at that point in the season when they knew one more defeat and it's over. And sometimes you get in a situation where a team is literally teetering on the brink and they're able to throw one last haymaker and try to drag themselves out of it. This Leicester team, this Leicester club, when I say club, I mean not just the players, the coaches, the managers, everybody, the fans. They've got no fight in them. They are just waiting for the inevitable.
You were there, weren't you, Mo?
Yeah.
It's the most defeated home crowd I've ever experienced. Yep. And listen, I'm not going to judge them because they say you need to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. I don't want to walk 10 metres in their shoes. As Josh says, it looks fucking miserable.
Yeah.
But it's the most... I've never turned up to the ground as an away fan and a home crowd has been so defeated, and they've not even scored a goal since early December, and so it made you know, you talk about sort of a slightly strange game, it made it even more strange. RM was like a party. There was you know, it was 2 steps from a conga breaking out our end in the first half because everyone just decided they were going to have a brilliant time, and so the Arsenal results hadn't gone how we hoped and things like that, but everyone, it was funny coming into the ground, you could hear our end and you were dying to get in because it was so good. And then you're on the concourse was so loud, it was almost like deafening. I was with Connor, I was like, Connor, do you want a pint? I was stood right next to him. It was so, everyone was just sort of screaming, and then we go in and we're having this party and they're like, honestly, someone's died, and it's their football club, and they've been watching it slowly die over the season.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
they are the sad. That's the sad. Like I was even thinking before, and John, this could be nasty today because I've been there in the past and it's been nasty and unpleasant and all the obvious hits.
They couldn't even bother taking us.
They didn't even have that gear, John. They didn't even have that in them anymore.
They sang a song about Steven Gerrard after about 35 minutes, and then we sang our Gerrard one back, and then they were like, "Oh, do you know what? We're not even that asked." Like, honestly, we were just looking for something to sing, and someone said that, and someone went, "Why not?" And then they just went back to. We was like, "We'll just go back to being miserable." You know, it was like they couldn't even be asked taking us. It was an unusual like.
The only thing apart from the general, the only other thing I heard from them, sort of back right where I was just a little bit of how shit must you be. It's only 0-0.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is they are absolutely done. I think they're a really they become a funny team to play against as the game wears on. It is an odd game because of that. I think all of that's true, Mo. And I think just sort of trying to process it is you're just left a little bit like at some point we just score here and it gets sorted out. And if we keep shooting, eventually one will go in.
Yeah, and I think the biggest credit we can give the team is that they never got caught up in the malaise. They were just like, no, we are doing the right things. And there have been times in recent games where Liverpool haven't looked quite themselves, where they haven't been able to create those chances. So you get the impression that in their mind, they're like, oh no, we're still doing the right thing. We're still getting to the point of about to score. So let's just keep doing it and eventually we will score. And that's how it played out. But yeah, it was really strange because from a Leicester point of view, there were a couple of times when you could see that they thought that maybe they could get some joy out of something. There were a few set pieces, free kicks that were thrown in, and they were like, well, maybe we can, like the bounce of the ball might give us something. But the one chance that they would call a chance that they had, which is when indeed he hit the post. 30 seconds later, Salah's trying to put it in their bottom corner.
Yeah.
And it just kind of emphasised the gulf between the two teams. And like, yeah, they did have a few things where they could feel comfortable, like Mavididi was able to give Bradley a bit of trouble at certain points, but it never felt like it was going to turn over into something. Even the disallowed goal, which I must admit there was a part of the back of my mind was just like, oh, for goodness sake, let's not have this. But they didn't take any kind of confidence out of that moment because it was killed instantly. And then, 3 minutes later we scored? So they had nothing.
Go on.
No, it was... Yeah, I think the strangeness of the atmosphere around there and I think sort of contributed the fact that it all felt a bit easy for us. I think contributed as well. I agree that Salah scores and it's probably, you know, what could be anything. You know, any score you want to pick, I'd sort of agree with if Salah scores after 2 minutes. But they are, like Mo says, backing themselves to sort of keep doing the right thing and it'll come good. And we've become, over the season, a very efficient football team. And Mo Salah's like a remarkably efficient footballer, and we're almost becoming in Mo's image as a team. And when people of other fans say, "Oh, don't really like watching Mo Salah," or don't, is he a brilliant footballer? What they mean is like he's not doing all this like, fancy stuff and stuff like that, or necessarily he's just output, and the team is slowly sort of morphing into that, I think, and every game you look at like the XG charts and stuff like that, and you're always like, you think, oh, Liverpool weren't great there. And then it's the XG is 2.2 to Liverpool, 0.8 to the other team, and we won 2-1. And you're like, oh yeah, we'll sound. And I think they're looking at stuff like this, that the manager doesn't give loads away. He gives more to Mo than most people, but he doesn't sort of give loads away. But it looks to me that they're looking at stuff like this. I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of the more data-driven coaching setups in the league, and certainly more so than what maybe Liverpool have been in the past. And I think they're looking at the quality of chances. I think they're looking at what they're creating. I think they're looking at what they're giving away. I think there's certain shots that they're happy to give away because it's the old adage, he's not going to score from there. I think they've took that to another level. And like I say, these things aren't as revolutionary as sometimes what's made out. I think people are just putting a numerical value on what coaches have often said in the past, which is, oh yeah, let him shoot from there, he's not going to beat Alisson. Yeah. Or rather than take pot shots, create better chances. I think they're looking at, the second half, there's a Bradley one, and he goes through, and he just put your foot through it, and he tries to pass, and our end's really frustrated because you've seen him score that goal. He scored that goal against Chelsea, and I think he should shoot, by the way, because actually when you look it back, there's not a great pass.
The pass makes the chance less good. Even if he gets the pass absolutely perfect, the chance is less good. Yeah. He's got a clear shot. Is the thing,
and it's Chibika's who's furthest man forward, which is mad. And he's never scored for Liverpool, I don't think, apart from a penalty in his shootout. And so he should shoot, but I think that's coaching. Why he's not? I think he's looking for the better chance, and I think we're always looking for the better chance, and I think we're always looking for the way that's more likely to lead to us creating better chances, the opposition, and that's the way to win the game. And it's tough to argue with it with where we are. We score, and it's tough to argue with that they back themselves to score, because they do. Do you know we've scored in every away game this season, and if we do it in the last two against Chelsea and Brighton, that's the first time Liverpool have ever done that. And you think, like, how hard is it to do something that no Liverpool team has ever done? It's hard to do something the Klopp's team have never done. Never mind going back to Dalglish and Shanky, and that's incredible. And so what they're doing is unbelievable, and they're backing themselves to sort of keep doing it. And it might not always feel like when you're watching it that it's the most amazing performance, but they're ruthless and they're efficient, and there's a lot of control, and teams aren't getting much of a sniff, and we're getting goals, and we're winning games. And so I think it is a little bit of an adjustment, I think, but they were miles better than Leicester, and they were well worthy to win. The only time I worried was when Jota come on and he missed that header. It's a brilliant ball by Szoboszlai, who is, in a funny way, sort of epitomises all this as well, and that people aren't saying he's not playing great, and yeah, I get that, but he made two great chances in that game, and the Jota one was the second one, and he should maybe do a little bit. It's not a brilliant chance, but but when you think, oh, we'll get Jota on here and he'll sort it, and then when he missed that was the only time I was a little bit worried. But they get over the line, and they've done it repeatedly this season, so it's not a fluke.
The goal comes late enough, Josh, for it to feel massive. It's just maybe at the moment in the game where people were beginning to think like John. I was very much of the view. I think I needed another 5 minutes before those doubts were going to set in. I was just thinking this goal is going to come.
Yeah, we were great 45 to 60. By the way, really, really good.
Yeah. No, I think they're really good for 60, and then it just sort of fragments a little bit. But they're still pretty good then. Genuinely is my view, Josh, and it comes just late enough to feel massive. But it's still there. It's not a last minute winner. It's not even a late winner for me. It doesn't qualify unless there's an 8 at the front. I'm not even having it as a late winner. It was a goal that was on the cards.
Yeah, it's the kind of goal I think that it feels like the relegated sides I've conceded a lot of this season. We spoke last week to me on the trends about Ipswich getting to a point around 70 where they're just shattered, and Leicester I think was similar really. I think the goal was always going to come. I think Liverpool were always going to keep probing and that, and generally when you're doing that against these weaker sides, especially with really deep lying defenders, and then someone like a Conor Cody with his back against the wall, just thinking like we can't concede any space behind it. I think it was just gonna come eventually, and it does in the end. Left footed with Trent as well, which is a new one I think. But yeah, we got there.
There was a bit of inevitability. I think there's a bit of symmetry about the goal as well. He scores the goal against Leicester in 2019, actually not dissimilar, but further out actually than where Bradley was, when Bradley could have shot, but on a similar sort of angle as he was pushing through. That inevitability of the narrative bending towards his will with all the wider stuff there. But I think the symmetry is almost more important for me, Mo. It's 6 years on, well, 5.5 years on from that goal. That's I think it's a point to be made about the longevity of his Liverpool career so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like in some ways Leicester Stadium's come his own personal museum, because he scored 4 goals there. He scored last time he was there. Last time we were
Do you know how many Salah scored there?
I don't.
There's only 2, and one's not in front of fans. I think there's a little bit of a thing where Salah might not be very good in front of goal in that ground.
Well, he missed a penalty there, didn't he?
Yeah.
Lost 1-0.
And then missed the rebound. And then missed another 63 chances. And then Sadio Mane missed a 1-on-1. You'd have to list those misses to me, Mo.
Yeah.
I can transport myself back to Leicester in the Christmas of 2021 in a blink of an eye.
Maybe it's something to do with what's going on behind the goals. Maybe he needs like a sight screen, like the cricket.
Yeah.
He needs to move it slightly.
Yeah. So he scored in the COVID season, that mad game where Kabak and someone ran into each other.
Yes.
Salah scores to make it 1-0, and then we lose 3-1.
Oh God, yeah.
But he scores there in about 2 weeks into his Liverpool career. He scores at Leicester, but apart from that, he's never scored there.
And obviously, Trent's not someone who has anywhere near as prolific goal record as Salah, but he scored on that ground 4 times. I think it might even be 4 out of the last 5 times he was there.
Well, that's mad, because he's only got 26 goals for Liverpool, is it? 25 or 26 to get 4 in a away ground, something else, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've all been bangers.
So there was the free kick, isn't it?
Yeah, the free kick.
Yeah,
that was last time. Actually, we also relegated Leicester that time as well, 2 seasons ago. There's the one in the Community Shield against City where Tyler lays it back to him, he smashes it, and then the one you mentioned. And that one is obviously the most iconic one, because it is the kind of the high water mark of the greatest moment in the greatest performance in the greatest season that we've seen for a long time. And so it's always going to be memorable. And this one, I think, will be also memorable for a lot of the context around him as a person and an individual, as opposed to the team itself. But it is still a moment in a season where Liverpool weren't winning, and then they needed someone to come up, stick their hand up and say, I'm going to take us over the line today, lads. And I always like it in a season when Liverpool wins something big, when lots of different players can feel like they've done that. Lots of different players can say, well, I had my day on this day. We saw it from Virgil the week before. We've seen, I think, Jota's had a few. I think Palace away. Gakpo's had a few. Diaz had a few. Obviously, Salah's had loads.
Nunez
had Brentford. And I just think when you're kind of looking back over the course of a season, it's important for everyone in the squad to feel like they've had that one moment. And I mean, for Trent, obviously, he's been out for a few weeks, but it was very fitting that his moment came when it did. And obviously, the reaction was what it was. And I think when you add all of those things together, it felt like quite an emotional moment, even for some of us, even for me watching, as opposed to just him on the pitch. But yeah, was it 60 shots he's had with his left foot and no goals, and then suddenly that one? And yeah, you look at the way that the move had kind of built up. We were great from set pieces on Sunday as well, which is something that we haven't said a lot. To hit the post twice in that same little move, one of the Leicester keeper takes out one of their own players because it's just bedlam. But he just manages to find that perfect moment, that perfect shot. And yeah, it was just, I think, a really fitting moment, whether or not it's going to be the end of his career at Liverpool, but certainly towards the end of the season.
It clearly meant a lot to him and his teammates. I thought it was a weird and an intense moment, Josh. You know, it was one which is sort of fueled with contradictions. But I thought it was striking. It felt like it was significant to all of them.
Yeah, it was a weird moment. I think a lot of people as well. It's mad how differently people can interpret the same moment. Like so many different people. There's loads of people saying, "Oh, he's definitely staying now," and there was loads of people focusing on the fact he just took his shirt off and hung it on the corner flag and got off, as in like he's definitely going. So
I think he just didn't know where his shirt was. To be fair,
probably. But no, it was a huge moment, and I mean, I was on the edge of my seat when he was giving the interview after the game as well. Like just hoping that he'd just give us some kind of nugget, or even just wink at the camera and make just do something. But no, it was very, very PR the way he conducted that interview and didn't give anything away. But yeah, he's definitely surrounded by storylines at the moment, isn't he?
It is weird. He's such a special player. Johnny's been such a special player. I'm just quite frank about it. I thought it was interesting in the ground. I don't think it was clear cut in any way, shape or form in the ground in terms of the reaction to him. And I find the idea of him going on a free to a rival to be off-putting. I view it the same as going to Chelsea. It's not going to United, it's not going to Everton, but as far as I'm concerned, it is a rival. We played them 5 times in the last 8 years. I'm not having it that it's different now. It is different now. It's not the same as McManaman or Owen in other ways as well. But because of that, I think that's a big part of it, and I can understand why there's a wide spectrum of reaction to him. I don't think this is going to be clear cut, and I don't think it is for the rest of the season.
No, it's not, and it's just to sort of talk through the chain of events, because I know there's obviously, if you weren't there, there's maybe a bit of confusion. I've listened to the post-match pints, and then lads obviously weren't there, and they would have been unsure about sort of what had happened. And then Josh mentions the shirt there. So as someone who was one of the people who's looked at the whole thing, he's getting ready to come on, and it's him and Elliot, and there's boos from our end, and to ask for a percentage of the crowd that it is quite hard, because there's 6 of us in this room, and if 5 of us clapped at a normal level and 1 person booed, you'd hear the boos, you know what I mean? But it's only actually 1 in 6. I think about, if you say about 10% of the crowd booed, I think that would be not a million miles away from it. It's hard to tell. No one around me was booing, and then you think about how many people are around you, and you know that's sort of quite a lot of people when you think about 2 rows front and back. No one around me was booing. No, not everyone was sort of clapping either. You know, it is sort of fair to say, but boos carry, but it was a. It's not fair also to say like it's 1 or 2 people. It was a sizable number. Included some people I know, included some people who don't really know but sort of recognised, you could sort of see were fuming at the end and stuff like that. And then, but there's other people getting angry. The fellas in front of me were fuming about it. There's other people you can see getting angry. So some of the people who didn't think that was on then start singing his song. Now, I don't think he would have got his song sung if it hadn't been for the boos, but I think it's a reaction to that. Then the people who've booed are fuming with the people who are singing the song and then start having a go at them. And so it contributes to this weird tension in the
It's been a while since we've had a good one of these. Andy's just I can see Andy nodding, smiling there. It's been a while.
Yeah, and so it adds to them. And then I'm like, honestly, why has he brought him on? Like, why has he brought him on? Because we were doing all right, and then now this has happened, and it's just got dead tense and nothing's going to happen, and then he scores. So it's yet another Liverpool manager who's had me off. Added to the long list, and then he scores, and then he gets the moment. Some people didn't celebrate. I know people who didn't celebrate, which I find mad. I fucking celebrated. Yep. Let me tell you, because it was a massive goal. I know other people who were like celebrated and saw it was him, but then was like, oh, they're unsure what to do. There was some of that going on as well, but most people went bananas, and he goes bananas. This idea to me that it was contrived celebration, he planned
from him.
it.
Really, is that an idea that people are putting about?
Oh, I feel about content. I think is mad. We don't know, but I think to say he's done this and he's planned it and then to start judging him, but I think is a leap. I think he's just lost his head. Yeah. I think he scored this goal, and like most people when they score goals, 99% of the times when people score goals, when they're asked about it, they were like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, it was like an out of body experience. I think he's just lost his mind. I think he's threw his shirt off, and I think he's just sort of.
I think he's aware of all the tension. I think he's not an idiot. I think he will have heard it. So I think it's all that as well. It looked to me like it was just a massive outpouring, and I thought there was a little bit of, and I'm fine with it, by the way, as someone who is very mixed on the matter. I'm also fine with a bit of his energy, not least because I've been in that end and a variant of that end, going all the way back to protest stuff and all of this, where I was almost all right with there being an element I thought to the celebration of, you can go fuck yourselves. Yeah. I'm absolutely fine with that energy. That's a very Liverpool energy. I've just done this, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's quite scouse, but I think largely, and then he throws his shirt off, and then Costas puts it on the thing, because he's looking for it. He's like,
I didn't know Costas put it on.
Yeah. So it's important to sort of do these narratives really, and so that's sort of what happened. And then after that, it's sort of a bit forgotten. It is worth pointing out that after the game, they all come over, and then Virgil shoves him forward.
Yes, he does.
And it's for me, it was a really nice moment. And for someone who's very conflicted on the whole Trent thing and is generally struggling with it, but struggling to sort of I thought Steve was brilliant on the Pink. If people want to listen to it, talking about like you're trying to figure out what you know what you don't like, but how you you're still trying to sort of come to terms with how you should react in these situations. I thought Steve was really really strong on it in terms of like how we all kind of are trying to process what is going on, how you're trying to cut through the noise, how his silence is being filled by conspiracy theories and whatever sort of you want to call it. But in that moment when Virgil shoves him forward and he gets that reaction, which is a really positive one, and he just, people say, oh, he's ego, he's this, he's that. He looks like a kid. Yeah. When he shoved him forward, he's got this beaming smile. He looks like my lad got man of the match on Saturday's 5. He looked like Ted when he got man. My lad, he was like smiling like that. He couldn't believe. Like he looked like the 18-year-old who didn't quite fill that kit. He was coming on in the game. Do you know what I mean? For the first time, or that kid in pre-season, you're like, who the fuck's Rafa picked him first, wasn't it?
Rodgers,
yeah.
Rafa doesn't pick him. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
I was trying to there's laws against that sort of thing, Sean.
I was trying to think who was the manager before Jurgen Klopp, and I couldn't remember. Brendan Rodgers picked. He looked like that kid again, and I loved that. It was a real it was a real reminder of like, the journey, and in that moment, he didn't look like a superstar, or he looked like a young Scouse lad who'd done this great thing and was taking his moments, and he had like this a childish grin on his face, and it was just sort of dead nice. And then he goes over and does the interview, but it is worth saying as well that when he's doing the interview, there's a few people waiting for him to come over again to tell him to fuck off in our end, and so there's these weird sort of swings. So and then he rightly quits while he's ahead, by the way. So after the interview, he doesn't even look back. I think he goes like, right, that's gone well over there, that's gone as well as I would have hoped, and I'm just going to sort of get off. But there was like a few, and not necessarily people to know, but people you recognise, faces you recognise and stuff like that, like younger lads who were like, if he comes over here, I'm going to tell him I'm going to tell him where he is and stuff like that. And the Virgil line was being used. It's always Liverpool and stuff like that. But they, unfortunately for them, they didn't necessarily get their opportunity to tell Trent what they thought of him. But it was a sort of a quite a amusing sort of ending to the whole thing, that there were still people who wanted to sort of tell him. I did see one lad who I know as well, who when he come out and he was buzzing, he was like, fucking boss booing Trent there, I loved it. And so there's this element of like people were looking for that first opportunity to have a go, and you were talking on the post-match show as well, there's a little bit of like, well, if you aren't happy, how do you express it? Like, what is the acceptable way to express it? So him getting booed, putting a cross in that we score from the corner from is like almost comically ridiculous, and I think that's like seems a bit mad, but like how especially in like modern football and the way it's gone and how far removed we are. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you express?
Well, I also don't want social media abuse, if you sort of know what I mean. So you end up at this point where if people aren't happy about him going and there's a variety of reasons why I think it's legitimate not to be happy about him going. But I'm also going to be someone, and I think we would probably all would say, but just don't be a prick on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a little bit like, well, where are my moves then?
Yeah, because he's not knocking around Liverpool.
No,
you know what I mean. He's not in Liverpool 1, so you can't just go, Trent. Do you know what I mean? What's going on? So it is this sort of mad thing. So I think there was a lot of people waiting to have a go at him, and they got their opportunity on Sunday. I'm hoping now it's a little bit out the system, but I'm not one of those people who would do that, so I can't speak for other people, because I don't know what they're going to be like on Sunday, because I wasn't like them this Sunday, and so it's a bit of it. So you're trying to predict a fan base that's very varied, that's in their opinion, that's very angry, emotional. A lot of people, like Steve really eloquently said, still sort of trying to figure out what they think. Still not 100% convinced that he is definitely going, because he's not sort of said anything. There's just this weird sort of range of emotions. But just to finish, I'm aware I've talked for quite a while. What I do think he deserves a little bit of respect for is fronting up and showing up, because it would have been the easiest thing. And once he got that injury against PSG and we went out, it would have been the easiest thing in the world for him to say, I'm injured and done. apparently, according to everyone, and one of the reasons why his teammates respect him is he's worked so hard to sort of get back. He could have just said, listen, there's plenty of examples of the opposite. There's example, just looking at Liverpool, Coutinho with his dodgy back, do you know what I mean? Like others, Alonso apparently said he couldn't play and stuff like that. There's plenty of players who, close to a move, have refused to play for Liverpool. And the easiest thing with that injury, which is obviously a genuine injury, would have been for him to just go like, listen, the league's won. When there's nothing to really to play for, I'm just gonna sit off in ours and then just wait till the summer. I actually think he deserves a lot of respect for getting himself back and thinking, no, I want to. If I am finishing it, I want to finish it right. I want to finish it doing everything I can to help get Liverpool over the line, and he did that on Sunday. He won us the game, and like I said, other players I don't think would have even been on the bus, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think when we're talking about what it means to play for Liverpool, that needs remembered, and it's not black and white. People have either seem to have decided, a lot of people seem to have decided, it's either you either love the club or you don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And it's either like, if he loves Liverpool, he'll stay, and he's leaving, so he doesn't give a fuck. And it's like, there's so much grey area in between, and I feel like, again, you're talking about how society's gone. I feel like this is it. It's either like one extreme or the other. There's no like in the middle for people. There's no grey area. I think the most likely thing is that he loves Liverpool, he's really liked it here, but he just quite fancies doing something else. And to be honest, he's not adverse. If someone said to him, you're going to go for Real Madrid for 4 years, and then he couldn't come back, he'd probably go, fucking great, sign me up for that. I know it's not guaranteed, but that sounds great. I think, but people, and listen, I know it's emotional, and I'm not having a go at people, and I'm not having a go at any, telling anyone what to think or act, but I just think it's, it is useful, I think, as an exercise in ourselves to try not to think too much in extremes, and try not to think, well, it's either he loves Liverpool, and if he loved Liverpool, he'd stay forever and ever and ever until we think he's shit, and then he should go. Or
to be clear,
immediately to the best offer, regardless of whether you want to live there or not. Or if he wants to go, then he doesn't give a shit about us, and everything he said is a lie. Since by the way, he was 17, 18, and it's just like there's probably something in the middle, which is that he loves Liverpool, it's his club, he's loved every minute of playing for us, he really wants to win the league as much as them would. If he was taking the piss, his teammates wouldn't be entertaining him. Do you know what I mean? That's a tough changing room, but they get it. Do you know what I mean? They get all them players, with the exception of Curtis Jones, have left the club that they started with and gone off and done something else, and so they get it. A different experience and things like that. You can't compare them to Virgil or Salah. It's a different journey, it's a different experience, it's different shared lives. They've been on their journey and found themselves at Liverpool and gone, yeah, I want to stay there. And by the way, Salah, in his big interview to celebrate signing the contract, is saying, yeah, if I didn't think we were in one thing, I'd be getting off. Yeah. He says it in the fucking interview. Do you know what I mean? And so if we were sick, he's not signing. And so, like, it's always sort of a little bit more complicated. And that's the club interview. He's saying that in. Imagine what he'd say to a journalist if he spoke to them. And so that's, it just is a bit more complicated. But I think what I saw on Sunday was a lad who's got a lot of passion for this football club. He wants to win the league. He wants to do his bit to help Liverpool win the league. And if he is wants to end on a high, and he might not get that high, and if he doesn't, then sort of tough shit. But they know, do you know what I mean? They know the risks, they know the discourse, they're online, they're seeing it all. And the fact that he's still willing to front up, and the fact that he's still able, to score that goal and do that celebration, like, I'm into it. And I agree with you, Neil, it was close as fuck.
It was. It's fascinating because I was at the other end of the ground and I heard booing and assumed it was the Leicester fans booing the ref. I honestly didn't know it was our lot booing Trent. So then when I heard everyone singing this song, I was just like, oh, okay, that's great. It's kind of similar to what happened at Spurs away in the semi-final, where you had the United game where there was a little bit of tension, and then the next game they were like, no, we're not that, we're this. So the fact that even the hardcore away support, who are generally considered to be the ones who are like, if you're wearing the shirt, we support you regardless, whatever. If there was even dissension between them, then it shows you how big and how emotional an issue this is. I've had arguments about this pretty much for the last month or so, and in almost every single one of those arguments, it was brought up the fact that I'm not from here, so for me it's different. And obviously, I'm the I know, but obviously, in this room, I'm the only one for whom that's true. So I do have a different view on some bits of it. But when you were talking, John, the thing that kept coming back to me about the differences between how the confliction of feelings and how it can be part of this and part of that, it does feel like the end of a marriage. Like the way that you feel at the end of a marriage where you still love someone, but you're still angry with them. But you want to be in a world where you can stay together, but you understand the fact is that that's probably not going to happen. And so there's all these kind of conflicting emotions about, well, we still need to be cordial. We've still got a job to do, whether it's raising kids or winning a football league title between the end of the season. But
it's a mad podcast, this mate.
But you've got to try and get.
It's about the trend in a minute, mate. There's loads of numbers in a minute. You'll be all right. It's coming. You just hang on in there. You just give it a couple of minutes. The trend's 12:15. You'll be all right.
But in all seriousness, I think the way that we are reacting to all this, the way that he is reacting to all this, there is no guide to it. There's no, oh, well, this is how it should be. And yeah, we've all have different views on what we should be acceptable, what shouldn't be acceptable, the way you feel about it. Do you think about it from a business point of view? Are you able to put your emotions aside? I personally am someone who doesn't put as much love and adoration into footballers anymore. Like Fernando Torres killed that for me. Like they are always going to be people who eventually leave, and I'm not going to put too much of my heart into them because I don't want to feel that way again. So I can always be a little bit more distant from those kind of missions, those kind of ideas, but. I do think what John said about him coming back is really important because the one thing that says is that his team have not given up and they still believe that he's a part of their team. And when Virgil was talking about him, I was in the mix zone after the game, I was there in front of him, and the look on his face when he was talking about how important it is and how hard he'd worked to come back and how he felt like he still deserved this moment and how difficult it's been for him these last few months. Like, he still sees him as his brother, and he will still see him as his brother in June and July and August and September of the season, whatever come what may. And I think there's an ability for people in the dressing room to be able to separate how they feel about his decision and how they feel about him as a human and as a football player and as a teammate. And maybe they've made it easier. Maybe it's easier for them because they have more information than we do. But they've been able to do it, and they've been able to get on with it. And again, to be so far clear of everybody else this season, while all this is happening, is a real testament to how much they're able to say, no, we are able to just do what we need to do. And yeah, again, I'm nervous about reactions at the game, if Spurs is the game where it happens, at Palace, at the parade, all of those things, because I don't want it to be something in 10, 15 years' time when we think about Liverpool winning the league. I don't want it to be, but do you remember that bit with Trent? It was a bit of... But there's no way of guaranteeing that's not going to be the case.
I think there's already been a few of them moments anyway, though. Like that was always going to... There was always going to be a bit of a split there. You mentioned Spurs away before in the Carabao Cup. I was at that game and... he was getting abuse when he was just warming up. People were screaming rat and vermin and things like that at him when he was just warming up. So, and he comes on and plays very well, by the way. He applies himself.
That was after United, wasn't it?
And to be fair, against United, he was abysmal when it comes to applying himself. He was just I think there was a shot or a goal that we conceded where he's ambling and he's making out that he's defending and he's not really. I think Slot has a way with him on the back of that and he changes his attitude a little bit and stuff. So, but I think you make some very good points. I think, I can only echo what's been said. I think the stuff on the extremes is important. I think, like, the suggestion, as you say, John, that everything he's said to date has been a lie because he now wants to experience a new challenge, I don't think is... I think it's a load of nonsense, to be honest. I think people's perspectives change over the course of time, and I am born and bred in Liverpool. I've grown up as a Liverpool fan my whole life, always will be and stuff like that. And I sympathise with his current predicament because I would, if I was good enough, I would obviously be happy to play for Liverpool for my whole career. But if I'd played for Liverpool for half of my career and I was still in my peak and I'd won everything, and it was the opportunity to test myself in Spain with the lifestyle over there and different, just loads of different experiences over there, would I be tempted to do that? Yeah, I think I would.
If you look at the players he's played with, there's not that many who sort of been through. He doesn't sort of work with Gerrard and stuff like that, so he's not experienced that. But he's probably looking at someone like Thiago and thinking, well, he came through at Barcelona, he played for Barcelona, won everything. Then he went to Bayern Munich, won the Champions League with Bayern Munich, and then he's come to live. Like, what a fucking I wouldn't mind some of that.
Yeah.
And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound bad. Or you look at someone like Alonso, who's likely to be his next manager. He plays for his boyhood club, Real Sociedad. He comes to Liverpool, wins the Champions League, goes to Real Madrid, wins about 3 Champions Leagues, and then goes to Bayern Munich. And then he's probably looking at that and thinking, fucking, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind some of that. And it does sound all right when you say it.
I think this is why, from like the perspective of someone like Virgil, but if Virgil knows what's happening or what, I don't know, but Virgil seems relatively happy for him, and I think it's because he recognises that, like, almost he's kind of done his time in a way. He's saved the club, for like 10 years now. He's won everything with the team. He's been a regular starter, always committed, starting a fair number of games every season and all that. So I think there's a recognition there that, like, if there's any service owed to the club, that kind of brings you through and all that. However long that is, I think there's an appreciation with a lot of the first team, a lot of the regulars and the leadership group or whatever, that Trent has ticked that box now. If he does want to move it or whatever it is, he's properly delivered for the team, and that's why with someone like Robertson, for example, as well, I've been, whenever I've criticised him or whatever this season, I've recognised that, like, listen, he's done his job though, Robbo. Like, he's been at the club for like 8 years now as a regular starter every week. Trent has been the same, and yeah, it doesn't feel as spiky from my perspective, at least. I don't feel as, horrible towards him or anything like that. I feel like I can understand why someone would want that change. But I agree with what Steve said as well, when it comes to just coming to terms with how you feel towards it. Still is really fuzzy in my head. Like,
I will stay though. I think you should stay and fuck Real Madrid.
To be clear, my defined position too.
Fuck Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And Liverpool are winning the lot next year.
No, I'm 100% in favour of fuck Real Madrid. 100%. I don't think you should start again.
I'd start him against Spurs.
And then in no other games?
Yeah. I would start him against Spurs.
Would you start him against Spurs if Arsenal lose midweek?
No.
So only if we've got the league title to win, you'd start him?
I just think, I think he's still our best right back. I think Bradley was great, to be honest with you, the other day. I still think he's our best right back. And also, I think in terms of a potential another flare-up, I think it's easy to start him than it is sort of to bring him on 70 and risk what happened again on a sort of a larger scale. So the sort of slight shithouse in me, which is an honest lot, by the way.
So there's only one game you'd start him you'd start him until the league's won, and then you start Bradley.
Yeah,
but then if you start Bradley in like 3 weeks' time when the league's boxed, he's probably still coming on, isn't he?
You're bringing him on 70. That's what I'd be doing
at Anfield.
Yeah,
at least once, maybe the last time. I don't know. I think Schlott's job, my genuine position, Schlott's job is to act in Liverpool's interests. Yeah.
So I can accept an argument that from the minute, like for Spurs, if it's not done, you start Trent if you think he's the better option for that game. But from the point the league's won, I'm of the view Arne Slot's got to act in Liverpool's interest going into next season. And that to me is Conor Bradley playing low to 70s, Trent playing low to 20s, and I don't give a fuck what the crowd's doing.
Well, to be honest with you, the problem is with Bradley is that he's not played a lot of 90s.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more inclined to do that. So I would say at the moment, I think Slot said that he wasn't fit enough to play 90, which is why Trent came on. So if that's still the case for Spurs, then maybe, like, I like John's idea of the fact that maybe neutralising it by doing it from the start when everyone's there, as long as he doesn't get booed every time he touches the ball, which would be...
I don't think would happen. Enough for Spurs. Could do 3 points to win the league.
You think so? You think that would supersede everything?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of we need as much information about Bradley as possible going into summer. And he still needs loads of reps.
Yeah.
Like, he's still not made 30 Premier League appearances in his entire career.
I don't think this is controversial.
No.
I think there was meant to be, Carragher's meant to have said it, and everyone's gone, as if, I just don't think it's controversial.
No.
The moment the league's won, and I would do it for Tottenham anyway, he plays against Tottenham in the 4-0, Bradley. I think it's worth pointing that out. He starts then anyway, but I take John's point. I'm happy to sort of cede on that either way. But I just don't think it's controversial. At the point at which the league's won, the job of the Liverpool manager is to start to think about next season.
So I think Steffi Mamadidi is by far Leicester's best player and has been for most of the season. But he's not what you'd call an elite footballer. And there were a couple of times when he made Bradley look like a rookie. Like, just with some of the way that he beat him. Not just beating him, but the way he did it. And then you look at the games we've got to come. Arsenal, Gabriel Martinelli is their left winger. Brighton, Caro Mitoma is their left winger. Chelsea, Pedro Neto is their left winger. Crystal Palace, Ebre Eze is going to be playing out there. These are very, very, very good footballers who Bradley, if he's going to be our starting right back for the future, is going to have to face the calibre of. So I want him to face them now when it literally doesn't matter and get those reps, make some mistakes, learn from those mistakes so he is in a better position next season to come forward and play if he's fit enough to play all of those games.
Okay, more on the Reds in general against Leicester. I'm moving forward about what's lies in store this week in a minute or two. But before then, a couple of weeks ago, I went to Open Door, the Bloom Building over in Birkenhead. We're going to be partnering with them on an extended process across the next few weeks. So here is me in the Bloom Building. Hello, it's Neil Atkinson. We're in the Bloom Building right now. It's where the charity Open Door are based. And Open Door, as you might remember from last year when we came out here, they're a mental health charity that operates in quite a non-traditional way. This is a non-clinical space. And what they look to offer is fast, free mental health treatments for people who need it at the point at which they need it without the need for waiting lists and processes and so on and so forth. We're going to be partnering with Open Door across the next 4 to 6 weeks, looking to fundraise as part of the work that they do over here in Birkenhead as one of the local charities in the Liverpool City region. It's a pleasure to do that because the work they do is innovative, it's a really bold series of programmes and it's fantastic to be around them. We're going to learn more today about it, but if I've already got your attention, please text TRANSFORM to 70480. 70480. But before then, we're going to learn from Lucy and Ben about the work that happens here at the Bloom Building. And here I am, joined by Lucy Diggory, who is now an operational programme lead here at Open Door, and Ben Thomas, who's also been through the programme as well and is now a mentor. So the two of you both went through the programme and are now part of the operation. So without sort of going into personal detail, Lucy, how was your experience in the first place of coming to Open Door when you realised you needed some help or some support?
I had a really positive experience at Open Door. I always say that I felt like I was in a bit of a revolving door of different services, whether that was clinical and non-clinical, and it sort of came to a head and I was given a leaflet for Open Door and I thought I might as well try it. So coming through the doors, as anyone will, I felt quite nervous, and then started on the programme and it just really gave me some perspective as to what was going on with my mental health.
So you tried to work with the different service providers before coming to Open Door. Why was Open Door different? Was it that idea that it was effective, it wasn't asking you to jump through a ton of hoops? What was it in particular that made you feel as though it was effective from the moment you stepped through?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt comfortable here. I felt like I was surrounded by faces like mine. I felt excited about the prospect of different support, stuff that was not like anything else I'd seen before. And everyone was just friendly and lovely. And when I walked in, it was like everyone knew my name and they gave me a cup of tea, you know, that sort of thing. I felt welcomed in the space. It was nice.
Ben, for you, was it a similar experience in terms of feeling welcomed when you first arrived? Was it a little bit different? How was it for you at first?
It was. I was very welcoming because I was actually, when I started, I was a year outside of the age range.
Yeah.
So I briefly thought I wouldn't be able to go and get the support, but the person in charge just went and said, no problem, welcome. And it was that willingness to help other people and basically the ease of access.
Yeah.
Because I found out about the place because I knew some people who'd been doing some fundraising for Open Door.
Yeah.
They're a local Rotary club. Actually got a shed out the back because the old building was being added on with tiny little cubicles for treatment, and we were shoulder to shoulder before we moved to this new space, and we'll then be moving on to the next new space soon. And they told me about it and braved. So I literally walked through the door and said, I need help.
The ease of access, Ben, it feels to me as though it is the first special thing about Open Door. It's literally called Open Door, I think, for that purpose, for that reason. But it is important for people who may never have had to concern themselves with going through those sorts of services before, who'd be lucky enough not to be in that position. That ease of access, the idea that from the second that you come in, it's straightforward. It is one of the key parts about the programme, isn't it? It doesn't put barriers in the way, it does the opposite.
Exactly. And we see so many members who come to us while they're waiting for other services which are harder to get into. And it's almost the relief you see of like, oh, it's that easy.
Yeah. With it, Lucy, for you as well, it feels to me as though one of the things that's quite striking about Open Door, as well as the ease of access, is that it works across the full gender range. A lot of when I sort of have worked with mental health-based charities through doing the Anfield Wrap and things, they always feel quite gender-specific. One of the things that struck me through all of our interactions with Open Door is that this is quite the opposite. It is here for an age range, as they say, they bend the rules from time to time, but it is here for an age range, but it is also here for the whole community within that age range.
Yeah, 100%. We try and make our support as accessible and inclusive as we possibly can. So, everyone can feel comfortable walking in the doors, no matter sort of like their background and, what they've experienced before. Trying to make sure that we, reflect that in both our staff and our volunteers, making sure that everyone feels welcomed and feels like included in what we do, and removing any of those barriers, whether that's in, as you said, Ben, the accessibility in sign up and walking through the doors, making sure that, as you mentioned earlier, people aren't having to jump through hoops in order to access the support that they need. A big thing in what we do as well is that we have no waiting lists, which I think sets us apart from a lot of other services in that people can access that support at the point that they need it. As soon as they've decided to make that referral, we're in there and we're offering support as soon as we can.
When you say about there not being a waiting list there and just sort of offering it as quickly as you can, that's why the facilities themselves are important. It's why it's important to have a sense of, this building is very brightly coloured, you can't miss it if you know where it is. As you approach it, you genuinely can't miss it. There's the new building, which hopefully will be coming 12, 18 months down the track. But that idea of there being a physical centre for this, I've seen the spaces through the back there as well, where this is able to happen. That's part of, the support for that building. It's as much supporting the building as supporting the programme, if you see what I mean, because the buildings, the facilities themselves are part of the programme.
100%. Our buildings and spaces and people all go into making what we do so effective and important. And I think, the no waiting list thing is absolutely inclusive of where we are and how much sort of physical space we have, how many volunteers we have on our team, like Ben. And that's why it is, so important to constantly be looking to the future and making sure we can maintain that offer and constantly grow and, provide that support.
When you're now a mentor, you've been through the programme, come out the other side, Ben, and now you're in a position to feel as though you can mentor others. For you, within Open Door, is that idea of being able to almost pay back that support important for you? And have you felt supported through the process of not just finishing the treatment with Open Door, but becoming a mentor through your volunteer work?
Oh, it's essential. It's so important, the fact that it's not just a programme for 8 sessions, it is a community.
Yeah.
People do come in, they do say hi, it is, and the ability to give back is fantastic. And I know for the fact that we're not the only people who have been through as members to go on to be mentors, whether it's been for 2-3 months or longer. And the ease of being able to do that as well has been so useful. And it does feel so nice to be able to pay it back and actually help other people, because when you are at a low point, you feel very alone.
Yeah.
And with the fact that we've got mentors who have been through it, who have got the experience, it shows one thing to members, which I think I found very important, that you're not alone, that you do have other people who don't have the same exact experience, but have felt similar. And it makes you feel not as broken.
Lucy, you now being a programme lead, listening to Ben there, and having been through it yourself as well, how important is it to therefore take from the mentors, from the volunteers, take their experiences and add it as part of the programme in terms of what you can offer people in different ways through the building, through the facility?
Yeah, it's one of the most important things I think we do, is that a lot of our volunteers and staff and people sort of around and involved in the charity have that lived experience. And I think it really, as Ben said, showcases to the members that, you know, we've been there ourselves. We know somewhat, you know, how it feels, and constantly getting that feedback from our volunteers on, you know, what maybe things should be in the programmes or what things we can be doing better and differently, and taking their experiences from maybe when they signed up and were members and what they would have liked to have seen and things like that. Open Door is constantly evolving and changing and growing, and whenever we're looking to set up a new project or anything like that, it's the members' feedback and the community feedback that we rely on a lot, you know, those kind of steering groups, to make sure that what we're doing is for and by the community and the people that we're supporting.
So therefore, people watching or listening to this, the idea of them supporting, them helping you to support through donation in order to keep it free and immediate is the most important thing for Open Door. It is the challenge that so many charities face currently worldwide, if we're all honest, with general sort of economic issues and changes. But that support, it is very, very direct. There is not, you know, a great many sort of barriers in the way for Open Door. The attitude is what the money allows and helps do is get people the most immediate support as and when they need it, as and when they just walk through the door, whether it's this building or hopefully in the near future the new one.
100%, yeah, we rely on that massively. It is that support, whether sort of financial and community and things like that. A lot of time, you know, people just knowing about us and spreading the word and things like that. It's so important to keep, you know, us doing what we're doing. We rely on, as you say, with any charity, funding to keep us doing the things that we're doing, whether that's training our volunteers, putting the sessions on, keeping the building, you know, up and running, things like that. And yeah, really vital for the work that we're doing that is, you know, changing lives. So,
well, thank you both very much for having us, being part of this process, part of this programme with the Anfield Wrap, and showing us the wonderful Bloom building. Thank you very much, Lucy. Thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And there you have it from Lucy and Ben, and thank you very much to them as well for taking the time to explain what goes on here at Open Door and the way they've benefited from the work. Listen, I said before, it's 70480 to text TRANSFORM, and that will automatically give Open Door £10. We're going to be talking about this a lot across the next few weeks on the Anfield Wrap. You're going to see it in a lot of our materials, in our emails, and you're going to see it on social media as well. We'll be giving it a shout out on the shows. Loads of opportunities to get involved. But also, if you want to have a wider sense of what goes on, there's opendoorcharity.com/donate. So opendoorcharity.com/donate in order to also be able to donate to a number of the different programmes and also get a wider sense of opportunities to donate. In the meantime, it is Transform to 70480 if you want to be part of it. We love the building, we love the Bloom building, we love the fact that there's a constant desire to find new ways to go about doing immediate, fast, free mental health treatment here at Open Door. They're a charity that we're really pleased to partner with across the next 4 to 6 weeks. Come and be part of it with us.
Yeah, really pleased to have done all of that with Open Door. If you can donate, please do so. The details, as you heard on there over and over again, if you text TRANSFORM to 70480, or alternatively, if you find yourself going to opendoorcharity.com/donate, especially if you're outside the UK, we'd like this to go really well, and we are going to be partnering with them and talking about them for about the next 6 weeks or so. So if you can donate to them, they are a special charity, and the one for whom every donation would feel especially valuable at this point in proceedings. It's a great time to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap. I don't know if you know, but Liverpool are about to win the league. So I just couldn't think of a better one. And then I think it's going to be a really, really interesting summer as well. There's going to be a lot going on all the way through in terms of transfers and other bits and pieces. So if you've got the opportunity to do that, that'd be great. Also, you can subscribe to Mo's Substack as well, which is the absolute business in terms of everything that he's up to at this point in time. And also, you can subscribe to Josh Williams. You find his work at Distancia Recordia as he's fucked off to Spain. So if you just put that into Substack, Distancia Recordia, you can manage to find everything that Josh is up to all the way through the season. And John, we are doing a live show. On I should know really. 24th, Saturday the 24th, and it will be with a lot of people sitting down.
Yeah, so we're in the auditorium at the Exhibition Centre, which is a phenomenal space. Me and Neil actually went to look at it a year or so ago, to the idea of doing something there, and couldn't quite make it happen. So we're really grateful that it's come together this time. So it's absolutely huge. I think it holds 1,300 people if they swivel some things around, and they are getting close to be ready to be swiveled. So we've sold about half the tickets in there, which is brilliant. But obviously the others are going to go. People are really keen, so I wouldn't hang around too much about getting your tickets. But it should be an absolutely brilliant event. The whole weekend looks really good. So if you check out Red Weekend, find them on social media, and there's clicks through to buy tickets, or if you go on the Exhibition Centre website, and you'll find it there as well. So there's stuff on there from Friday to Sunday, and I think they're trying to get something on the Monday as well. But where the Saturday night, which you can buy individual tickets for, you can buy tickets for just our event. They're only 20 quid, or you can pay an extra £5 and go and watch the Zootons, which feels like a bargain, to be honest with you. And so you can be able to go in early and watch them, and then come into us. But I'm really, really looking forward to it, because the space is brilliant. It's all seated. You'll be able to get a drink and bring it in and stuff like that, but we're going to have a really great time in this wonderful space the night before the last game of the season, so we'd love you to come and join us.
Excellent stuff. Do come if you've got the opportunity to do so. Thinking of loads of things that we can do in there. Looking forward to it immensely. Josh, last little thing on Sunday was a reminder in a couple of ways. The manager's got a bit of managing to do. Chiesa doesn't even make the trip. Jones was not happy with the amount of time that he...
I didn't clock that.
He just got straight off the end.
He comes on, doesn't he, with I don't know, a minute left or something.
Makes 4 pressures, by the way, because I've been looking at the numbers, so he just obviously charges around like a madman. The final whistle goes and he says, I'm off.
The final whistle goes, he just walks down the tunnel, doesn't
want any parts. I'm fine with that. The footballers, they want to play, they want to be involved. I think my point is more, there's been a little bit of rumbles about Nunez. I wonder if there's a contractual thing there with reference to money that might have to be paid to Benfica. There's a couple of rumours going around about that if he starts again for Liverpool have to pay Benfica a sum of money, which if you're Nunez must be a bit like, well, why am I rocking up to training at this point, to be fair. I've actually got some sympathy with that. There's been a general vibe of Elliott should get more time, but if Elliott gets more time, it's at the expense of somebody else, whoever that somebody else is, whether it's Chiesa, whether it's Jones, whether it's both. My point is, Josh, I think the manager just has got a bit of managing to do in general. I don't mean this is a bad thing. I think he's going to be very, very good at it, but he's about to be managing the league title winners who will all feel like, I want a big role next season.
Yeah, is the end in the Chiesa won't get a medal stuff?
You basically decide who gets a medal now.
Yeah, he gets a medal.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, the club just...
They give him John too.
Deserves it.
The Premier League just say how many do you want to Liverpool, just say how many they want to
Okay, well that's nice. Maybe they'll offer a few more and give them out on this table or something. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how we adapt once we win the league, because then the competition for points kind of deteriorates a little bit. You get the opportunity then to maybe look at a few more players and things like that. Someone like an Elliott, someone like a Bradley. I think it's interesting regarding those two ahead of next season, because Elliott seems to want to stay at the club, seems to want to get more minutes. Slot, for whatever reason, has been reluctant to play him. I think there's a potential decision there in the summer where I think, as it stands right now, the club would be more willing to let Elliott go than Elliott would be willing to leave. So, do you spend more. I mean, he's had a good look at him, to be fair, anyway, all season, but maybe you just start him in a few more games with Bradley and the Trent stuff. You know, Bradley as Trent's successor, is he going to be good enough? Mo mentions a few good upcoming opponents there that you can test him against. I think Nunes is probably boxed. I think. Do you reckon it comes into it with appearances, or is it just starts?
It's I don't know if it's only a rumour at the minute, but it's someone sent it to me today, and I'm just sort of trying to find out precisely where it's come from. But it supposedly starts. But I just sort of wonder if it becomes, don't worry about it now, if he's going to go. Because if he's going to go, like, I like him and I think he should have more starts. But now that I know about this thing, then...
I think it was mad that he was on the bench. And it's not a massive thing, but I felt a bit for Chiesa. I thought it was a bit moody because the week before, he's basically... By all accounts, I mean it's Arne Slot's account, just wasn't in the right headspace to train on the Friday, and then he said there was no injury, no illness, he just wasn't in the right frame of mind to train on Friday, so leaves him out at the weekend, which is understandable. And then so to then bring Nunes back on the bench and push Chiesa off just felt a bit moody to me, and I don't really understand it. And whether they're trying to say to Chiesa, listen, it's not happening for you here, maybe they're trying to, like, they think if keeping him on the bench is because he seems keen as fuck to play for Liverpool, and his attitude has been spot on, you know, from what we've seen. And so whether they're just trying to say to Chiesa, not quite force him out the door, but encourage him out the door, and they think we're leaving him off the bench sends a bit of a message, then maybe there's a little bit of that. But I just think surely a Chiesa is a better option anyway. If you've got Jota on the bench, I couldn't understand the scenario where Nunes was going to come on. Really, because Jota's your first choice sub for an attacker. So I think, for the sake of two lads, you're probably not going to bring on anyway. But Chiesa seems the more likely because he's got a bit more versatility about him across the front line, or at least in sort of slot ties. To swap them back over just felt a bit moody to me. And like I said, I'm not up nights about it, you know what I mean? But, like, you know, there's bigger things going on. But it felt a strange one. And listen, we don't know ever, unless, you know, maybe Chiesa had a knock, or maybe, but it just, there's been a few times where he's not put him on. But I felt, if you're saying that Nunes, you know, is basically walking off training because his head's all over the gaff last week, and then you're giving him a spot on the bench over a lad who, you know, has tried everything to get into this team. I don't know, just this didn't quite sit right with me.
But that's what I mean when I say he's got some managing to do, Mel.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think the way that you kind of laid it out there, as in a spot on the bench, isn't necessarily him saying, I'm going to need you on the pitch, because it would have only been if there'd have been an injury, would there have been two strikers coming onto the pitch. And even then, we've not seen Nunes play on the left.
I'd have brought them both on 60.
Yeah.
I'd have gone 4-2-4 on 60, but that's just one man's view.
Yeah. But I didn't think that was going to happen. It didn't look like that was going to happen. So in the context of that place on the bench isn't so much, I think you will be able to affect the game if I need you. It's more of a symbolic thing of thinking, okay, well, you are a part of this team. Particularly if Chiesa didn't even make the trip. Like, I mean, obviously it's different at a home game. Nunes was on the bench, but he was behind the bench. He was there. He was at the game. And there was all that stuff with Leicester about Harry Winks that Van Nistelrooy had to answer and answered really badly in the press conference, but essentially saying that all players should be at the game when we're at home, but he didn't know whether or not Winks wasn't there. His wife was basically posting Instagram pictures to say he was absolutely not there. So you don't want to get into a situation where that's happening, because those kind of things behind the scenes will always end up bleeding through. But looking at how he constructs his teams and his squads post-title is going to be fascinating, because we've said that there's one reason there to look at a player like Bradley and see what they do. There are other reasons to maybe say, well, maybe we're not sure if this guy's going to be with us next season, so maybe we can see what they do. You do wonder if there's going to be any kind of shop window decisions as well. And I mean, you've put on the agenda here, you will be surprised by Tsimikas starting. No. I think it does Liverpool good to remind the wider European world that Costa Tsimikas is actually not that bad, really. If you look at it, he's probably not going to be the greatest Liverpool player, but he might be able to do a bit for your club. You know, he's going cheap, maybe not quite that cheap. You know what I mean?
Have you met Liverpool?
Yeah, well, okay, maybe not cheap, but The point is there are plenty of reasons for players who aren't currently in the team to maybe make a position in the team. There are some for whom the shop window is not necessary. Like, I think that someone, for example, with Tyrendo, if Liverpool are thinking maybe he's not going to be part of the squad next season, I think there'll be plenty of teams queuing up to take him, regardless of whether he plays in the next 4 games. That might not be the case for everybody. But even all of that said, the simple fact is that next season, if we're going to be successful, we need to be in a position where Slot feels like he can use more than the players he has used so far this season consistently. So, in that world where there's more players who are going to be fighting for positions, he's going to need to manage them. He's going to need to be able to say, well, okay, you aren't playing this one, but I still think you're important, so you're going to play this one. So, it's definitely something that he's going to have to get better at, I think.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. We're going to do a transfer committee show with you two and Rob, and you're going to be asked some fucking hard questions because you were bell ends about it to me recently. So that's something to look forward to for everyone. Where one of the things I'm going to say to you, Mo, is I don't think he wants to rotate his goalkeeper, his 2 centre-backs or his 2 holding midfielders, regardless. So then if you get into that, we begin to go, well, how much do you actually think he wants to rotate? And you can say, well, I don't like that. But I'll say, well, I think that's what the manager wants. I don't think, I think the rotation...
I think McAllister would have had to lose a leg to be taken off at the weekend.
Yeah.
Honestly, he was absolutely fucked. I think that's probably why Curtis Jones was fuming. He's looking at some lad who looks like he's about to keel over, and he's like, no, I might give you 2 minutes for Diaz at the end.
But my question is, and this is something we've kind of weighed up over the course of the season, is his main aim and his main idea gonna have to change? Like, you can look at it and say, well, he was successful, Liverpool won the league by a large margin, but does that mean to say that the issues that Liverpool have had over the course of this season are still going to be... you're still going to be able to get over them without it causing a bigger issue to the main aim? I'm not sure. I think that there might be an element where there are some parts where it's like, yeah, we kind of got away with that. We can't really do it that way anymore. So that might be something that comes into play. I don't know him enough to know whether he's...
You've got to do an extended show on it with Rob and Josh, whether you all like it or not. It's going to be 45 minutes of me just playing devil's advocate because you've decided that the transfer committee game was too simple and too easily abused. So this is where you're ending up.
It's fine. I've absolutely been misquoted.
You might not have been.
I have explained this.
Don't be harder on me. I just want...
You can do what you like, mate. You can have a lovely time. You having a lovely time is what I'm in favour of.
I'm a big son of Florian Wirtz.
Anyway, look, I want to just sum up dead quick. I just can't see, before you even get into what you want to have happen, I just can't see Palace beating Arsenal, given Arsenal's need for points and Palace's Wembley trip on the horizon. Is there any dispute about that?
No, I had half a hope of Ipswich because I wasn't sure which Arsenal was going to turn up, and Ipswich are a funny team, so I thought that was possible. And you looked at our game, like, I mean, Leicester could have won it, do you know what I mean? Like, you obviously didn't, but, worry would have took like a referee just doing something mad or whatever and letting that goal go, and you never know. And so I thought there was a possibility for Ipswich. I think there's no chance on Wednesday because when you see...
I'm the other way on that.
Oh, yeah. I just think when I saw Arsenal were really, really good, and I did in a way that I didn't think they would be at the weekend, and Palace just looked... I don't know, like they didn't even have a shot against Bournemouth.
No, they're definitely on a bad run, but I just think they've got better players, and if they do actually turn up,
but I just think they don't pick a lot of these better players.
With the cup game.
I don't think, for instance, I mean, he did a bit of messing around anyway at the weekend, and they go down to 10 men, so Chris Richards isn't going to be available full stop. I think there's every chance. So on the bench, Chilwell, Klein and Devaney are all on the bench. I think there's every chance they start. Kamada was on the bench. I think he starts.
It's got the FA Cup.
They've got the FA Cup on Saturday.
Nketiah going back to Arsenal feels nailed on.
Nketiah starts, because Mateta won't, and then they'll do a bit of a swapsy on that one. He subs Eze at half time after the red card, but he subs Eze at half time for that one, just gone. I think there's a world where there's every chance Eze may not start. I think Kamada starts in the middle of the park. Will Hughes probably starts because he's probably quite happy to flog him, and then Lerma now probably has to start. But I think I just think there's every chance Glasner makes 6 changes and already knows 4 subs before the ball's kicked.
No, it's possible, definitely, but I just think Crystal Palace have this thing with heavyweight sides where they can cause a bit of an upset, and it's a midweek game and things like that, and they've got decent players where they can bring them on or start them or whatever. So I think it's more of an indicator though of the lack of faith I had in Ipswich than the faith I have in Palace. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Perfectly fair. Mo, just that quick. Sunday, feels potentially like it could be such a special day. It's been on the cards now for such a long period of time. It's within our grasp. It's how many days away? It's 5 days away.
It is. And you know what? I couldn't have handpicked a better opponent. Not because of any relative quality in Spurs or anything like that, but just in terms of the fact that if the whole ground, all four corners of the ground are going to be made up that Liverpool win the league. And I feel like that's going to make it a fantastic atmosphere. I think that Andrew's going to get into another argument with Spurs fans when they cheer every time we score. And it's just going to be fantastic. And I was saying this on our show yesterday. I keep thinking back to July 2020 and how we had to basically lie to ourselves and tell everyone how amazing it was that we won the league, because the whole world was not right and none of us really was enjoying ourselves at that point. This kind of draws a line under that, because at that point in the time, we didn't really know what the future was going to be like. We didn't know how long we were going to be in that world and whether or not Liverpool were going to be able to do that again. And now we know that they can, and they have, and they will. And it's going to be so much better.
There we are. It's going to be so much better. Sunday, everything that you're going to need on the Anfield Wrap all the way through. Sunday and Monday, we put our Monday plan together. I don't want to give too much away, but we had a chat earlier on. There's a lot of it, and it will cascade at you on Monday, should it all come together. But Liverpool, as John said earlier on, have been really, really good at the shoulds all the way through the season. Liverpool should beat Leicester. Liverpool go and beat Leicester. Liverpool have managed to do that all the way through. One more big push, and then Liverpool are champions.